Yes, we are live. Hey, Fab Gals, welcome back to my video series on how to look fashionable over 40. And today I am speaking to Jacqueline Depaul. She's actually a very multifaceted woman. So I'm very excited for you to meet her. So she is actually in technology and engineering. She also has a degree in physics, and she just decided when she was 38 that she wanted to model. I mean, just like that. And she is now a very well-known model, has worked a couple of different very, very high-profile shoots. She also is a blogger of the Yellow Brick Runway, and she is an amazing, inspirational woman. She's also humanitarian and cares very much for the human rights of other people. So, Jacqueline, welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Tracy. It's fun to be here.
Awesome. So, Jacqueline, tell us about your process of deciding to become a model.
Okay, so that was a fun process, and it came out of a moment of a little bit of loss or failure. So I have a physics degree. I have a career in technology, and that's kind of what I did. And the way I expressed myself was through dance. So I did dance in college, and I've always done dance. And I was doing ballroom dancing, happily, getting ready for competition, learning the paso doble. And I injured the bottoms of my feet. Like, I fractured the sesamoid bones. I was doing the technique wrong and didn't realize it. And I couldn't dance anymore. Couldn't wear heels, couldn't dance. The doctor said 6 to 12 months. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was so sad because this was I did it almost every day, and it was my creative outlet. And I love my technology. It's very stimulating, but it's not enough for my entire personality. And I was 38, reading all these self-help books, going, oh, I'm so depressed. And suddenly this idea popped in, like, oh, I think I'm going to model now. Okay. And that was like, it was almost as if some other voice had like stuck it in my mind. It was completely weird because I was like, so we have, just like the old cartoons, Angel, Devil, and Angel goes, I think I'm going to model now. And Devil goes, you're an idiot. I mean, I literally was having a conversation back and forth going, you can't model. That's just dumb. That's for 16-year-olds. You're 38. And then I was like, well, you know, I'm 5'11". I'm tall. Who cares? You know, I'll just tell everybody I'm 26. Like, you can't do this. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm not trying to be Gisele Bündchen or anything fancy. I just want to do it for fun. You can't be a model, you know? And so finally I just agreed with all parties and myself. We all agreed that I would, sound like a schizophrenic, we all agreed. But I just said, okay, fine. I'm not going to require that I have any success as a model. I am simply going to do it for my own edification and have a good time. And if I like it, I will keep doing it. And if I don't like it, I won't keep doing it. And I'm just going to focus on what's good about it and move on. So I volunteered for a community school that had a beginning photographer class, and they needed models to come in for all the beginning photographers. And I brought all my clothes, and I'm posing, and I looked like a female Zoolander, really. I was like all over the place. It was ridiculous. And I got like 100 different shots back from these photographers. And I found 2. They were terrible. All of them were terrible because they were beginners. I was a beginner. But I found 2 where one looked kind of like a acting headshot and one looked a little bit like a catalog picture. And I was like, okay, good, there. Now, what do I need to fix this? Okay, I need to lose weight. I need to whiten my teeth. I need to, you know, get a haircut, and I need to learn how to model. And so I'm like out practicing every weekend, just telling people I'm 26 years old, networking on the internet, convincing people to shoot me. And then finally I was like, wow, I wish I could stop lying about my age, because I was now I was 40, turning 41. And I had been to agencies and none of them were interested. They're like, you're weird, go away. And you know, and then I saw this Facebook ad pop up from Wilhelmina agency, which is one of the top agencies in the world for models. And they said, oh, we're looking for the next over 40 model, come to Macy's and audition. I was like, oh, this is my chance. So they had been to Macy's all over the country. This was their last stop, West Coast, because they're from New York. And I went to Macy's and stood in line and did the Miracle Suit bathing suit audition and the Estee Lauder audition. And there was 5,000 women who entered this. I got selected for the top 10 finalists, and then I won the contest. So now I'm a real model with a real agent. And I was like, I have made it. And that was actually not, I have made it. That was step one. And I had, you know, some failures and had to start learning the real craft of doing this. But now I'm 48. It's, I guess, been 10 years. This is my 10th anniversary. And I'm still doing it. I have agents and I do jobs and I have my blog and it's really fun. But this was sort of this odd idea that I had that I just drove forwards and said, oh, well, and here I am talking to you, Tracy.
But it's amazing, you know, Jackie, with Jacqueline, what I find so incredible is that, you know, you could have listened to the devil on your shoulder and allowed those inner voices to stop you from doing something because your inner critic just wouldn't let you. Or you could do what you did and have done, and look at you 10 years later. And not only have you done that and become successful in your own right as a model, but you've also inspired other women, you know, other over 40 women. And it's so exciting to see, you know, women over 40 looking so good and looking so fantastic and being celebrated for their beauty and for their ability to show off clothing and be creative with it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's it's interesting because it's myself. I don't think about it that way all the time because I'm in the middle of the weeds. Like I'm in the struggle of my body changes, the hormones change, whatever, things are falling apart. And I'm constantly doing this patch job because I'm on, you know, I just came back from Paris Fashion Week, actually. That's the first time I've ever walked in Paris Fashion Week. And I was so excited. And I had a couple designers that invited me to go because they have no problem with an older woman modeling their clothes. You know, like some designers are more, I think, inclusive that way. And I know that a lot of them are not, but I managed to walk for 3 designers in Paris Fashion Week. I was like, oh my God, this is the pinnacle of my career. I love it. But when I do that kind of job, I am standing next to girls that are the age of what would be my daughter. And their skin is perfect and they're thin and they're, you know, and I'm just like, okay, don't think about it. You did the best you could. Just work the runway. You know? It's just like, so yeah. I don't always think about what I'm doing to inspire people. I'm actually just trying to hold it together half the time, you know, because the modeling standards are quite high. You know, you have to really focus on being that physical inspiration, so to speak. So you have to, your diet and your exercise and everything. I know that some women are naturally that way. I'm not. Like, I actually have to really work on it. And it's a constant thing, which I don't mind. I like high standards across the board, so I don't mind chasing them. But, you know, my sisters are like, oh my God, that's too much work. It's like, it just depends who you are, I guess.
Yeah. Jacqueline, I can completely relate to what you're saying, because I mean, for me as well, you know, staying in shape and looking the way I do does take a lot of work for me. I don't come from fantastic genes. You know, I have to really watch what I eat. I have to exercise. And I mean, I'm not a model, so I can just imagine how difficult it must be for you. So can you tell us a little bit about how does that inner dialogue happen? You know, when you are on the runway with these young people, how do you hold it together? How do you still, you know, kind of make yourself do those things? I mean, I would imagine it's actually really hard. It's a lot harder than it looks.
Well, yes, it is. And And the good news is that I'm not in that environment all the time. Like when I book jobs through my agency, I'm booking age appropriate jobs, which are less fashion oriented and more product oriented. So we're called the classic model division, you know, and which means we're old, the classic models. And we sell products like we're the happy lady at Hilton hotels or in the Mercedes, or we're, you know, driving the car, we're selling the detergent, whatever, you know. That's typical commercial jobs for a model. When I do that, they don't even necessarily want you to look model-esque. They just want you to look like a pretty person, you know? And so that's easy. There's no pressure there. You're in the hardware store, you're buying faucets, you know? And then the other thing that I do is my blog, Yellow Brick Runway, where I do my own, what I call editorial projects. Editorial modeling is modeling that's not attached to selling a product. So when you go in Vogue and you see those spreads where it's got 8 or 10 pictures of a model doing really strange things, you know, that is the most creative form of modeling, and that's called editorial modeling. That's normally for the kids. So I would never get invited to do that. So my blog is where I do that because it's not allowed for a woman of my age. So thank goodness I have a photographer, Leslie, and people that work with me that are inspired by me and the projects. So I've gotten 2 magazine covers that way, and you know, we've done a lot of cool pictures. So that is an environment where I am celebrated despite my age. When I go onto the runway, it's where I am accosted by the fact that I am so old, like twice the age of the runway models or more, where I have to keep still, you know, because if I listen to that stuff, then I mentally crash and I have a performance to do. There is actually technique in the walk, especially if you're not bone thin. You have to, it's almost like a dance. It's like you have to work around your body to make it look pretty. The bone thin girls can just march out there and that's it, but I'm not, you know, I'm a size 6, okay, you know, so it's like I have to work at it. So I can't let that negativity interfere. It's almost like I have to go, okay, whatever, I hear it, but I have a job to do and I can't listen to that because it'll just sort of cave me in. And
so you're having to be a professional, basically.
Exactly. And the other way that I handle it is, you know, if I start getting, well, it can stress me out. It's a lot of pressure. But on the other hand, I always look at the positive side. I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm on the runway. I'm 48 years old. I'm in Paris or whatever, wherever I am. I actually tell myself sometimes, this could be the last time you ever do this. So enjoy it. And enjoy it has been my philosophy all the way through. There's been many, many, many points where I'm like, oh my God, I'm too old for this, or I'm too fat, or I'm too whatever. This is not going to work. But because I do it, because I enjoy it, I keep going. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have made it this far. But I do love it, and I love the creative process. So when I'm on the runway, I'm like, okay, this could be the last time you ever walk out here. Let's own this and have it because boom, you know, and then it becomes fun. So I just try to enjoy what I'm doing, and it kind of cancels out some of this other stuff.
That is incredibly powerful, Jacqueline, because, you know, how many times have we held ourselves back from doing things because of how we feel or our fears or our comparison traps or whatever? And then to just say, you know what, like, I'm just going to go out and have fun. And this is an opportunity that shouldn't be wasted. And the other thing that I'm thinking, you know, as you're speaking, is that I feel a sense of sadness in a way too. You know, that you're even made to feel like you're less beautiful than the girls that are half your age, because, you know, shouldn't we really? I mean, you know, women over 40 are a big market. I mean, we are women who spend money on ourselves. And shouldn't the designers be looking at, you know, showing off their clothing on women who look good over 40? You know, like, why, you know, why are they showing them on girls who are going to buy the clothes because they can't afford them. I mean, you know, I just think that I think there's time for change. I mean, I don't know what you're experiencing in LA and in Paris, et cetera, but I am starting to see more diversity on the runway. I'm starting to see more diversity in your high fashion, even your high fashion advertising. And we are starting to see more women being represented and different types of women being represented. You know, it's not even just about age, it's also about ethnicity, it's about coloring, it's about body shape, it's about sizes. I mean, come off it, are we not a little bit further down the road than you standing there and feeling like you're not beautiful enough? I mean, that makes me sad.
Well, you're right, the tide is moving, and you know, some of this not good enough comes from me internally, right? The designer who brought me over there, the line is called Nathanielle Couture. She invited me to go. She's much younger than I am, and she thinks I'm beautiful and stunning and wanted me to model in her show. And that's how I ended up there. So there are designers that they're like, oh yes, you're beautiful. And the designers that used me thought I was, you know. There were some designers that declined. You know, when you're being selected, it was kind of like being chosen for the soccer team at school. You know, you're getting down and there's a few people left and they still haven't picked you, you know what I mean? And some of the designers were like, no. You know, I was either too big at a size 6 or too old. But 3 designers did use me and they were very happy with what I did. And I was happy too. And you're right, we're seeing older women in advertising, we're seeing older women on the runway. What's interesting is I see in advertising and high fashion advertising, it's the gray-haired ladies, the cool gray-haired ladies, right? Those are the cool grandmas, right? And they're being used for the high fashion advertising. On the runway is where the middle-aged ladies seem to be re-entering, because you'll see women in their 40s on the runway for certain designers. And they're typically the older supermodels and the ones that have been around for a while. So it is growing. I think we're on the front end of a wave, you know. So had I tried to do this, you know, if I had been attempting to do this a decade before, it would have been probably ridiculed. I think we're on the front end of a push where all of the ladies in our category are like, okay, me too, we want to play and we're not going to wait for you. You know, if you don't want to include us, we'll include ourselves. That's just like, it's becoming kind of a movement. And I think we're the last ones to get included, because they did plus size, they're doing ethnic, they're doing older gray-haired ladies. And I think because we're in that middle space between younger and older, we don't quite have the definition. I think we're the last ones to come to be brought on board. And I think we're coming on board because all of us are just like, well, we're just going to do our own thing until you guys figure out what you want to do. We're not going to sit here and wait for you to approve. And I think that's the magic of it.
I also think the magic of it is looking at what is happening on Instagram. I mean, you have a lot of followers, Jacqueline, and I think women like you are, you know, there is a groundswell. There is a demand and a need and a desire to see a variety of women. And I hear what you're saying about the gray-haired women. And listen, I mean, I think it's beautiful. Those women who can carry off gray the way some of them do is phenomenal. But not all of us want to have gray hair, number one, and not all of us can carry it off beautifully, you know? So I feel like there needs to be an opening of saying, well, look, you know, there's beauty in all different shades, ages, hair color, etc. And we don't have to either be blonde or either be gray. Because it feels a little bit like gray is becoming the new blonde. What do you think? I mean, I'm just speaking on, you know, and I have nothing against, I mean, listen, I think it's beautiful. Like, let me just say, I really do think it's beautiful. But, you know, just like it's blonde hair beautiful, but we're not all blonde. Gray hair is beautiful, but we're not all gray. So does that become the go-to?
Well, I mean, look, the young girls are dyeing their hair gray now. I can't even figure that one out, but it's obviously really cool, you know. It's just like whatever, you know. I'm like, just wait, you'll have plenty of that later, you know. But
I agree. Yes.
I think it's because fashion in general, at least the industry, they need extremes, you know. So if you get the older hip grandma, she's an extreme. That's an extreme they're willing to accept as a change. I think, you know, what we do as day-to-day fashion, the people that are addressing us are obviously different. You know, Target doesn't necessarily need these extremes, right? But it just, I think what's happening is, you know, people are saying, okay, we want you fashion industry people to get out of this box of the 16-year-olds. And then they're like, well, what could we accept? Okay, we'll take a very thin older woman with gray hair and make her look cool. But, you know, or what could we accept? Okay, we'll take the girl that looks exactly the same as this girl, but she's plus size. It's like they're willing to move one section at a time. And it doesn't, honestly, Tracy, it doesn't matter how much we complain. They're not going to be forced. I think they have to have this sort of natural movement towards inclusion where the designer feels it doesn't destroy their own aesthetics, you know, like, and that's a personal choice from each designer. And as we have new ones coming up, I think they're including more and more people. In the meantime, I would recommend to everybody, don't wait for them. You know, we need to make our own community and our own happiness. We need to do what makes us happy. We don't need the approval of the fashion industry, which is why you're doing what you're doing, and I do what I do. That's why on my blog I'm like, okay, let's do a shoot where I'm floating in the air. Like, no one would ever hire me for that, right? But I can do it if I want. That's the beauty of the internet and social media and the resources that we all have. So I recommend to people that whatever they want to do that they enjoy, go off and do it. And eventually you get identified as a thought leader and a community leader where you were just doing what you liked. You know, we can't all stand around and just go, okay, Christian Dior, we're really mad at you because, you know, you're not including us. They're not gonna care, you know? But we can go make our own beauty and our own fashion and our own, because fashion, I consider fashion the most accessible art form. We put it on every day. We dress ourselves every day. And what we create as the look is an art form. The same as makeup, you know, it's like, as women, we have this beautiful opportunity to just create ourselves every day. We don't have to wait. And then eventually the designers, like the designer that invited me to New York Fashion Week, she's all on board. She loves when I wear her things. I have several designers that are very, very into my story and they like what I represent because they're older women themselves and they feel the same pressures, you know? And I think they just want us to, someone has to pick up the ball and run, you know? And if we're all waiting for someone else to do it, then it's never gonna happen. At some point, you know, all this forward momentum that we as individuals coming together are creating is gonna, you know, the designers will begin incorporating it because it feels safe at that point, you know. But it's just, you know, clothes look really good when they're hanging straight down. The thing about women models being a coat hanger is not just, oh, look how skinny they are. It's because clothes look really good when they're hanging straight down, you know, and that's what it's for. You know, and it just, so we just have to do our own thing. And when we get included, celebrate. That's what I do. When someone includes me, I'm like, woohoo, celebrate. And then I just move on. But I think that's what we can do at this time.
I love that. So Jacqueline, tell us, what are your secrets to keeping slim, shape and looking good? I mean, obviously that's your job, so you probably spend a lot more time than the average person does, but what are the tips that you can share with us as average women, things that you have learned are absolute must-dos?
Well, I've noticed over the years that my metabolism slows down significantly as I'm sure everybody does, and the hormones go out. Like around 40, it's like everything gets topsy-turvy. So I've had health problems pretty much all my life. So I'm very accustomed to personal research about what I need to do. And then I also look at my body and my face as my artistic canvas. So I don't like when it cracks or breaks. I'm like, oh, what do I do with this? So I'm kind of personally motivated to stick it back together the best that I can. So my diet is very healthy, and I listen to a lot of podcasts like the Model Health Show or the Paleo Moms podcast. Like I eat a lot of plants. I take a lot of supplements, you know, like I have to count my calories. I don't eat a lot of carbs, you know, the whole, I guess I would call that the Hollywood diet. That's what we're all doing over here, right? I exercise, and I do bioidentical hormone replacement. Like without that, I would be a big mess. So I have to put all of them back in because they just sort of disappeared. I really don't get that, but they just go away. And that helps with skin. And like, for example, if you have apparently low thyroid, your skin gets loose. Who knew, right? So, and you get fat, you know, so it's like, okay, so we have all these things that we have to deal with that young girls don't have to deal with in order to be, not to look like the young girls, but to look like the best version of ourselves becomes more and more work, you know, like that's, but okay, you know, I don't think they're unreachable or unreasonable standards. I just think I'm trying to present the best version of myself that makes me happy and that makes other people happy. And so I just work on it. So the tips for the diet is I would get sugar is a gradual death sentence. Like don't eat sugar, don't eat white flour, because basically that's, I think, one of the biggest ones. It actually causes your skin to break apart, like the protein molecules and all this kind of collapse. Don't eat sugar, ever, under any circumstances. And people are like, well, then what do I eat for my treats? Okay, so they go get monk fruit sugar or erythritol, you know, like, or a combo, like Lakanto or Swerve. Make cookies. It's unbelievable. They taste as sweet as regular stuff, and there's no, like, sugar impact. And that, I think, is like right away, weight will come down. You'll be better in shape. If you never eat sugar or what, you know, I also don't eat grains. So I don't eat flour or rice, but I do eat these fake treats that taste just, they're made out of almond flour and monk fruit and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So there are alternatives. That's what I would do. Step one, don't eat the sugar or the grains, and people will find all sorts of beautiful changes in the body. And I eat a lot of fat. Like that's just my body. Some people don't do well with that. I don't eat a lot of fruit. That's sugar too. But I eat a lot of vegetables, and I do exercise. I go to Pilates. My knees are bad. Like I can't do, you know, when you look at the CrossFitters and the high intensity people, I'm like, okay, I can't really do that, but I'm in the Pilates reformer machines, or I'm doing hikes. It's very important. Like you have to keep, and our bodies have to keep going. They have to be maintenance, like machines. You know, we can't just, they're not going to look or feel good if you just plop them down on the couch and be done with it. We just don't function that way. And then clothes don't look good either, because you got bulges and you got, it's just like, it's just nice to keep everything together. Yeah. So there you go. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think it's good, because I think it is about becoming conscious of what we're putting in our bodies, conscious of what we are doing. I mean, for you, it is, you know, it's really important. It's even more important for you, but I think it should be important for everybody, and not just from a what do we look like point of view, really how are we caring for ourselves? Because when I speak to older women, you know, in their 70s and they're still vital, one of the very first things they say is you have to eat well, you have to exercise. You know, to me, it's amazing, because there just are no shortcuts. You know, you can't supplement yourself well. You cannot sit on the couch and, you know, or go and have machines do everything. You know, you can't, you may do those as an additional, but that's not going to be the only thing. You cannot shortcut wellness. wellness is just something we have to do if we want to look good and feel good for a long time. I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I want to look good and feel good for a long time, as long as I can, you know? So tell me, Jacqueline, okay, so this is the most important question of all. It's actually getting dark in here because I'm on a different time zone to you. But so the most important question is, what do you do for fun?
Okay. Because I work, you know, I have my engineering job, and then the modeling is pieced in moments that I can put it in. So I basically have two careers. My fun is limited to short time spans, but I have to say that about 6 months ago, I met the man that I'm in love with. And I've never been married, and I've never really truly been in love. I've loved people, but that's a little different, right? And I met this man, and right now that's my fun. Like, I'm just like so smitten with this guy, and he's smitten with me, and we just seem perfect for each other. People can't stop saying, oh my gosh, you guys look great for each other. If you watch my Instagram stories, you will have seen him. And so my fun right now is being in love, to be honest. Like, that is, I just can't get enough of that. So I'm having a great time. Being in love for the first time at 48 years old, I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why did this never happen before?
I love that. I love that though, because it sounds like your whole life is like that. It's you doing these things at different times of your life that are technically not the right time, and you're having so much fun doing it. I think that's amazing. I think that's awesome. Jacqueline, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and process and your inner, I think, is really important. And I'd love to hear now from our viewers, you know, put in the comments below, what did Jacqueline say that really resonated with you? What is your take home? And I'm hoping that, you know, the thoughts around, don't waste those beautiful opportunities. Don't let the things that come to you in your life not be done because of fear and because of our inner dialogue and not feeling good enough or beautiful enough or young enough. It's just too short and too precious to waste it. And so tell me in the comments what you think. And if you agree with Jacqueline, if you have other further thoughts on that. Also, if you would like to see more inspirational videos and interviews just like these, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the notification button next to subscribe. Ladies, that's what makes sure that YouTube tells you when I upload new videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Till next time, thank you so much. Also, before I go, if you want to get in touch with Jacqueline, if you want to follow her on Instagram, on her blog, I will put the details in the description below. Do yourselves a favor, ladies. Follow her. She is amazing. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Tracy.